I'm not quite sure about this focal. Oh yeah, that's a dampener. There we go. Got that all the way open. And bring some light down on this. And I can close the shutter a little bit. This up. Okay. Do that. Oh yeah, that's much better. Then I can twist it. Point. But it ain't. Oh, you know what? Maybe if I do this. Do both of them like that? What do I get? I'll have to open up this a little bit. There we go. That'll work. Then I can twist it. And it's up here. Oh, yeah. I can lift it up, down. Like that. No, that's too much. I wonder how I can get that. You know what? Maybe if I turn this up a little bit. About there. And then I bring this down. This. Up, down, all around. It's amazing to bring that up. You know, to get that angle. Here. And then that angle. And I can put this out here like this, and then I can just go bang it. Look, like that. And I have to do it. That. this up here like this. Right over there like that. Right? And I can move it around a little bit. Want more light, I can just shine more light down. Yeah, like what if maybe we should take this off of here, leave this on there, and then put that point up there. Get out of that. Shoot, you get a lot of light, huh? Oh, that's a whole different ball game there. Okay, take that off of there. And let's try this mortar. Hmm. There you gotta teach these guys not to read. This is just gonna confuse them. I'm just gonna let them figure it out for themselves. See what they can guess. No, I know what that was. Put this back up here. So, I just want ugly ass Morgan. I'll tell you that. What I think I might do. Poor Morgan. God, that thing is ugly. I'm gonna see if I can get this thing and make it look a little bit better than that. Because that looks terrible. Absolutely rotten. All right, let me see. Nobody's up yet. That's okay. Do something like that. Shut it. Somebody's watching. Who is? Somebody's watching. I gotta get rid of some of this junk. This junk is terrible. Can't handle it. Do, 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 do. Ba-dum, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum. Ba-da-da-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum. Oh, somebody's in there. No, I'm not on, Tom. I'm just got it on. What's going on? What are you up to? Can you hear me? I'm on, but can you hear me? Yes, no, maybe, possibly. Okay. What I'm doing, if you want to know what I'm doing this. This Morgan is absolutely terrible, right? I mean, looking ugly. So I'm cleaning some of the junk off because here's my thing. I don't know about anybody else, but I'm the type of person that if it looks too ugly, it doesn't matter. I'd rather have a clean coin than an ugly coin. If I got to look at it the rest of my life, I want it to look sexy. So if I'm going to sell it to somebody, I want it to look good too. Now, if it's a high grade, that's different. But the lower grade ones, anything below, very fine, um, it's okay. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, I'd rather have it look nice and presentable, but the big boys in the big world, you know, they make so much money off of grading, and my thing is if I'm going to collect and I'm going to bring somebody something they can afford, then they're not going to afford the big dollar stuff. It's thousands of dollars a coin. I mean, there's going to be a couple of people, but most people in general, they only want to spend, $40 to maybe $120, maybe a little bit more, maybe 150, depending on the coin. That's right around where they want to be. What's up, Cody? How you doing? Any errors on what? In general, on this coin, the one I'm actually cleaning. I never looked for any errors on the one that I got in my hand. This one here, the reason why I got this up is, well, I bought the coin, but if you look at it, it's really scratchy. See it? So I'm gonna see if I can take some of the scratches out of it, which just may be a little bit of a pain in the butt. Cause nothing ever goes the way you want it to go, right? So I'm taking this Morgan and I'm cleaning all of the stuff out of the. Well, you can see how the Morgan was, right? I'll show you this side because the other side was terrible. You see how it looks so nasty? I mean, it's a Morgan, but I just think that if I can take some of the scratches out of it and clean some of the gunk out of it, it'll be a little more presentable for people when they want to buy it, rather than looking absolutely terrible. I mean, when people are going to grade a coin, if I know that ahead of time, then I don't mess with it. I'll let them deal with it. But that's what I'm doing. I have a lot of error coins, but I'll show you something. Uh, See this Morgan? Let me square it up for you. See Morgan? You know much about Morgan's, Tom? Thomas, do you know much about Morgan's? That's not true. You know, look, you can talk to about 500 different people and you'll never get the same exact answer. Okay? People can push that crap and then they go and sell it for twice as much. Let me tell you how this works in this business. I've been doing it for a long, long time. If you're at a low grade, you're at a low grade. If you clean it, right, you might get a higher grade. It may say cleaned, but you may get a higher grade. And I'm going to tell you why. This is where it gets really tricky. Some coins you can clean it, get a higher grade, but it may be cleaned. Sometimes you can clean it, they don't know you cleaned it, or it doesn't look like you cleaned it because you cleaned it right, right? So you're preserving it, you're restoring it, and you'll get a better grade. So it really depends on the person looking at the coin, whether it's going to be lower or higher. And that's where the subjectivity of it comes in, being subjective, because there's a right and wrong way of doing it. Always. Now, if you clean a coin and somebody else cleaned it before you and it's under the layer of dirt that you just opened up, well, you kind of screwed the pooch, didn't you? So it's really tricky. It's really, really tricky. Because if a coin is ugly and nobody wants to buy it, you know, then it's an ugly coin and nobody's going to buy it. And they're going to want to pay less. But if you clean it up and it looks halfway decent and you didn't ruin the coin with a freaking scratch pad or something, well, then it's going to bring you a higher premium. And then there's certain coins, it don't matter if you clean them or not, like Carson Cities. Carson Cities are so rare that, most of the time you leave them alone. But if it's so ugly that if you clean it and you go to ANACS, right? ANACS, and you have it graded, they're going to give you an actual grade. Okay? They're going to give you a numerical grade. They might say cleaned with details. But you know what? If you get a higher grade, say for instance, you was on the borderline from a fine to an extra fine. And it was so ugly that they were going to give you a fine. But if you cleaned it, you might get the clean details. But if it doesn't look horrible, the cleaning job, and they bump it up to a very fine, well, then, your premium is a little bit higher because you have a better looking coin. But what I tell people is when you buy a coin, okay, buy the coin because you like the coin. Don't buy the coin because it's a specific grade. or whose name is on the holder. People get too mixed up in that. It's a big, big game that they play. And unless you're collecting MS-65 and above specific coins, then, there's really no need to worry about it. It's very rare, unless it's specific coins that were only in circulation and didn't have any proofs to them. And most of them, the highest grades are in your AU states, and there's probably no mint states known, or they're in somebody's collection somewhere. Then, it gets a little trickier there. But, and that's generally how I tell people who are first starting out, you know, everybody's going to be different. Everybody's going to tell people something different, you know, but that's just how I believe. And people can, collect the way they want to collect, whether they like cleaned or not cleaned. But if you're only investing $40, you know, in a coin that is just above, a few bucks above what melt is, then there's really not much of a worry in it. Where it starts to get really critical is when you're buying a coin, say a 1895, right? In 1895, Morgan is a key date in 1894 and 1893. When you get into those coins and you're getting it into mint state, right? Now you're talking big dollar coins. And if you're doing it on that kind of a collector's level where you're going to start reselling it and going to some of the big auction houses, that's when you want coins that are not clean. Unless they're really rare and they needed to be cleaned in order to save the coin. Because corrosion can just take and ruin a coin. You don't really have to worry about it too much with a Morgan, but you do have to worry about it on pennies and steel. And that is the truth. But don't ever think for a moment that once you learn how to clean coins and and you just do it lightly, on some coins, like this one. You see this coin? Never been cleaned, right? You can tell. But what makes this coin special is when I flip this coin over, and I put it here, you can tell that this is rotated. Because it's squared up to you, right? And when you look at it on the other side, it's square, right? If you look, she's looking right straight across, right? You see how her head is? When I flip this coin over, you see how that eagle's pointing more the other direction? It's rotated a little bit. And what happens is when they were loading these planchards in there, as a blank planchard, they got rotated a little bit. Now, a lot of people don't see that kind of stuff. They don't notice it because they're not looking at it. So I don't really have to mess with the coin. It looks really nice. Has a full color, right? You can tell that, some people might say it's a fine, some people might say it's a very fine, you know, and some people might call it an extra fine. I don't call it an extra fine because there's not enough details in here, but I would say it's between the fine and a very fine. And how you get that is, okay, it looks good. So its eye appeal is great. When you look at the back, the eye appeal is great. It has that nice dark color, right? That's the color that you look for when you're looking at a circulated coin. It does have wear on the wings, okay, so that brings the grade down a little bit. In the chest, but you can still see something going on his neck, so that looks good. You still see the beading. It's a little bit worn up here. Color looks good, but it's rotated. Now, you have to be a specific collector to be looking for those VAMs and varieties, okay? Because the big time collectors, the people that are collecting the big dollar ones, they don't care about the VAMs. Most of the time, they care less about that. They were looking for the perfect coin that was struck from the mint, right? And what the best grade is they can get that came off the press. They care less about names and varieties. Variety hunters are a specific type of people that collect specific type of coins. Variety hunters, okay, they could they could be checking something and say, oh, it's an MS61, but it has a variety. Well, I could say, well, I'd rather have an MS63. But the variety, it may be a lower grade, but it may pull more money. Why? Because you don't find that many varieties. And how many were struck like that? How many have die cracks in them? How many have doubling? There's a lot of different things to it. So it really depends on the collector. I mean, I know people who collect about good coins. Now you say, what the heck would you want to collect just cheap coins like that? Well, if you think about it, you put a whole set together and they're all about good, then you have an all about good set. You can get in on it on a reasonable price, and then you work your way up. Then you go and say, okay, I'm going to start a good set. And then you can sell them off and keep traveling your way up until you get into a mint state. And that's what I tell people to do, buy what you can afford, buy what you like. If it doesn't appeal to you, then don't buy it. Here's where the tricky part comes in, is when people try to start haggling with you, right? And the reason why they're haggling isn't necessarily because they want to collect the coin. It's because they want to buy it cheap, take it, turn it around and flip it and make more money, right? And when you're a dealer, right, dealer to dealer, you know what your gray sheet is. So you know what the prices of your gray sheet is. You know what back wholesale is. You're doing a little haggling because a coin dealer, he doesn't want something sitting in his inventory too long. Okay, and he might have $1 million worth of inventory. So he'll swap, he'll barter, he'll try to, give a best price just to get it out. Because when you take a coin to a coin dealer, they're gonna, try to give you as least as possible. They're going around the milk values. Some of them pay 90% of milk. Some of them pay 95% of milk. I mean, if it's a BU coin, it's uncirculated, they might pay you, milk, milk plus one, milk plus two. There's a lot of variance there. So when people start to talk about when you buy something, you know, I mean, something's only is worth as much as you want to pay for it. The problem with a lot of people is they teach them all of these things, and what they teach them is subjective to the way that they collect, or the way that they grade, or the way that PCGS grades, or the way that NGC grades, ANAC, ICG. I mean, there's just so many of them, right? I got a coin in my drawer over there, and I looked at it. Now, ICG, I have four of them that are all MS64s, right? I can tell you one of them, they'd be lucky if it makes an MS62. Some other people might agree with it because it says it on the holder. But I bought it, sight unseen, because, I got it for $50 in the case. It's graded, it's secure, it's sealed, nobody can touch it. And then come to find out when I look at it, it seems to me 2 grades lower. Am I upset with it? No. You know why? Because um, people are going to buy the coin that they like. And I'm going to tell them ahead of time. I'm going to say, yeah, this looks like an MS64. And then if they want to be anal retentive and go to PCGS because they love PCGS, then they can go to their website and compare what the differences are. And there's a lot of variance in the MS64, okay? Because that's a borderline of a real collector's level. Real collectors, when they start getting up into the high grades, they're going to start at MS65 and above. And if you look, there's a big jump from a 64 to a 65 when you're dealing with mortgages. So, you got to kind of keep into the realm of things. And then the older that coins get, and they're not going to get any younger, right? The problem is you can't get any more. How many of them been melted? Well, you can't track every coin that was ever. I mean, you know how many that was made, how many was melted, how many of them was destroyed, how many of them are gone from existence from one way or another. You don't know that, so it's subjective how many are out there. Now, unless somebody in the mint only made a specific amount of them and actually kept track of that and knew that, but kept it from the public, there's coins that are in people's collections that no one's ever seen, and they say, "Oh, well, those were never produced," but somebody out there has them. So, I tell people to have an open mind when you're actually getting coins and you're buying coins. You know, buy from somebody that you trust that you know it's real. The big problem that we're having today. Hi, Tony. Yeah, it's at the person's discretion. The problem that we're having today is there's so many fakes, and they're getting so good to passing the slide test on the magnet. You know, next it's going to be they're going to do something to where they can make the metal compounds pass a metalytics machine, and it might say, "Oh yeah, that's 90% silver." They're going to figure that out. They're going to figure it's just very tricky. So you got to know your Morgans. You got to know how the stars are. You got to know how you know your beating is. You have to know the outline of the Morgan itself. We're just talking about a Morgan here. We're not talking about every coin. You know? I mean, for God's sakes, they're faking these. They're faking $half now. You know, I mean, people are struggling. They need money, and when they need money, they'll do whatever they have to do to feed their family. Here's the thing that you learn about Morgans. When you're buying Morgans, you're buying from people that have verified it. That way, that it's been across a metalytics machine. Because 9 times out of 10, well, I'd have to say pretty much 99% of the time, when it goes across that metalytics machine, it's going to tell you what's going on because you recalibrate your metalytics machine before you use it every time. So and that's the standard. So, if you go to your local mom and pop shop and they don't have a metalytics machine, well, firstly, they might not have been collecting coins for long enough. And secondly, that's the standard. And most of your coin dealers, they know that, and they all have it. So, I had one and it broke, and I'm waiting because they're back ordered right now, and they're saying that they're back ordered, you know, 10 to 12 weeks out, and you're talking about $1,000 to $1,200 for a Metalytics machine. Some of them are even more than that, depending on what you get for your accessories. So there's a big investment in collecting. It really is. There's a lot to learn. You know, I forget a lot, and I still learn a lot. So the people who think that they know everything about any coin, I would be cautious of being around those type of people. And then again, I'd be cautious around people who can't tell you anything about coins because there's so many people popping up on YouTube today. I mean, and all over the places, for that matter. You got to know that you can trust a guy, right? You got to know a little bit about coins first, enough to listen to a person and say, "God, this guy's on it." You know, I could do business with this guy. Or why is he doing it? Is he doing it because he needs to make a lot of money, or is he doing it for fun? Is he doing it for a charity? What does he do with his channel, right? Even local people, how do they treat you when you come in? When you go in and you want to buy a bunch of wheat pennies, right? Does he let you pick whatever wheat pennies you want? Or does he just go back there with a big steel scoop and just scoop them out of there and throw them in a bag and hand them to you? Those are the things, I tell people, you know, I do this for my charity work because I like to help people in my local communities. I buy clothes and do other things. Sometimes I pay some of their bills or something like that if I have the money. because it takes a lot of money as a pastor to do those things. So that's why I actually started. And, to help other YouTubers if they need my help. Maybe they're sick and they might need the extra money. So they might send me some stuff to do an auction. I don't mind helping them people out. If they've earned the right to have me help them, by all means, I'll help them. You know what I mean? What somebody does for me, I'll do for them. Absolutely. So, you know, that type of person, I mean, that's just how I am. Not everybody likes me, and that's fine, you know. But, you have to earn people's respect, and you do that by time. Yeah, when you get a mortgage around your neck. I think the thing is sometimes when you look at a coin and you're seeing it like this, right? When you look at it in your hand, it looks a lot different. So, you know, the eye appeal here might not be for you, but the eye appeal in your hand, it stands out a little different. I mean, there's a lot of things when it comes to coin collecting, you know? Like you can look at this old bobber, right? Here's an old bobber. Now it looks like ugly. And you're saying to yourself, man, that don't look like a good or very good, right? But when you get it in your hand, you might think different. You know? That's just things. You know? And I got a few, and I have to go out and sort these out and try to find these and get the right prices for the people in the family. So I mean, there's a lot of things that go on with it. The more things that go on, the more people have to search for things. Cost goes up. People say, "Oh my God, I can get it on, wherever, uh, Ampex or uh, JM Bullion or wherever, eBay for $40." Well, if that's what you want to do, then go right ahead. Them people really don't care about you. You know, they're not talking to you. They're not sorting stuff out. They're not putting them in the holders, right? They're not packaging them. They're not making sure, you know, you get a little information. When you buy something from somebody, you know that somebody, right? You see him. You keep going back to him, right? He's the real deal. People on eBay, you never know. You just don't never know. You say, oh, they say that they're going to send you this stuff, and the next thing you know, you got a pile of shit in your hand. And then when you go turn it back in, now you got a real problem. Especially when you buy them loose and not in a holder. Now you got a big problem. You got a big problem because now the subjectivity comes back, right? They say, well, that isn't the coins that I sold you. So, you got to be very careful. And that's where you build up a reputation and people say, hey, I've heard other people talk just like that. Not everybody's going to, and not everybody's going to agree with on the same things. But you figure it out after a while. I mean, I've been collecting for a long, long time. You know, we're talking 45 years of collecting coins. So I've learned a little bit along the way, and I've listened to a lot of guys. The guy that, showed me how to grade coins and look at coins, he explained it to me. He says, you're not always going to get it right. It's not always going to be the right grade because of so many different variances to each coin. He says, so know that and explain that to people. You know, tell them to buy the coin, not to hold them, not the grade, to like the coin. And he worked for ANAC, ANACS, okay, which is one of the top three. So I was very blessed. And not just that, but a lot of coin dealers. I've worked with coin dealers, worked for coin dealers. You know, when you're working and you're young, you pay attention to some of the coins, but not all of them. It's like halves. Man, to know about halves would take me a long time. I mean, I'm starting to learn now because a lot of the people in the streams, there's a lot of people in the streams. that come here and they help me out. They'll say, "Oh yeah, that that like this coin, this put this coin." All right, so we got. Let's take this light up here. We got a 1968 Denver, right? Well, everybody knows it's 40% silver, right? Right, MDM? 40% silver. But it's not just 40% silver. It's an uncirculated coin. You can tell that. You can tell by the luster. It's got some toning here that's kind of ugly. You see the toning here? It could be ugly to some people. It could be attractive to others. There's a subjectivity. But you know by looking at it, okay, it was with some others. It got a little bag mark on it. But you look at the feels, and you can tell by the feels. It has that original luster from it. So you got to really look at that stuff. Is it doubling? Is it not doubling? I mean, there's all kinds of stuff to look for. You could spend an hour on one coin and then sell the damn coin for $20, right? And how much money did you make? So sometimes I don't even look for that stuff. And if you find it and the coin becomes $100 coin, so be it. That's the great thing. If somebody's always telling you everything about the coin, then you have nothing left to find. There's nothing left in the tank, you know? And that's why I tell people, you know, I can look at it, you might find it, and I don't. And you might instantly want to start, bidding on it, whatever the case may be. So you got to leave a little bit of mystery to some of it. I mean, I have people that have purchased coins from me, through the auction, and they seen stuff and I didn't even know it. And then they'll message me later, "You didn't see that?" "No, I didn't." "I'm glad you did," you know, and they keep it in their collection. Where coins become expensive is when you start sending them off to the U.S. Mint. When you start sending them off to like, ANAC, NGC, PCGS, you know, when you've got high dollar Morgans, you want to send them to PCGS. I mean, I don't, they're tough. They're tough on you. Now, if you want a grade and you want somebody a little more lenient, then you go to, a different person and have it. But if you want the right grade, I'm telling you, NGC and PCGS, ANAC, they'll give you a grade within, one grade of what maybe it really is. So just remember that. You can buy, I've seen people buy coins from ANAC and it was undergraded and switch it over to PCGS and get another grade. People say, "Well, I've seen just the opposite more often." That's true, you know. So just always remember that when you get into this field after so many years of doing it, let me tell you, you just don't know some days what you're gonna get. I sent a coin off. God, a couple months ago. I was talking to Mike Panucci about the coin. I said, "Man, sure hope I get a good grade on this thing." Well, I thought it was going to come back like an MS-61 or 62. It came back an MS-64. And that coin alone that I had, God, I can't remember what year it was, but that coin alone, just by itself, right? Because I was going to sell it, and I knew a guy that was looking for it. So the coin alone, when it came back with its grade, paid for all of my submissions, and I submitted 12 coins. It paid for all the submissions for all my coins. So, you know, it's stuff like that. You get lucky sometimes. You may not have seen the grade. Somebody else thought something else about it. And those guys, they're looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of them. You know, I mean, I'm no professional grader, but I do know a little bit about them. And the great thing is when you join, um, or you become a part of a family of collectors, they're not going to let you fail. You know, if I don't know something, like a quarter or a dime or something like that, I'll bring it to the table and I'll let other people look at it and see what they think. Well, based on what everybody says, we can come down with some kind of a solution to what we may think it is. Here's one more thing I want to teach you guys. What's that? Penny, nickel, dime, quarter, half, coins, forward, coins, bump, 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 the virtue. Yeah, you know, you can have a coin, and I think you've seen this, MDM, but you can have a coin, and a lot of the times, and you'll see this a lot on Morgans, right? The reverse will look better than the obverse, right? Looks beautiful. So how do you grade the coin? Well, you grade it like this. You grade the obverse, and you grade the reverse. You come with, meet somewhere in the middle, and then you look at the eye appeal of the coin, and you say, what does it look like? Well, it's an exceptional eye appeal. So if the back is a very fine, and the front is a fine, but it's more like a fine 15, right? But the eye appeal is great, then you'd be safe to, you know, grade it in a very fine 20. Maybe even a very fine 25 if the eye appeal is exceptional, you know. But if the eye appeal sucks, and it doesn't look like it's going to move, and you're not the type of person that wants to take the chance of cleaning it because you're afraid that you'll mess it up, you'd be more safe to grade it at, fine 15. So that's that's pretty much how a lot of people do it too. So what I suggest to a lot of people is take it slow, and if you're afraid of those things, then you know buy one coin at a time. That's MS65 or above. But when you're buying that coin, make sure that you know that's a coin that's collectible coin at that grade. If that's what you're trying to do. If you're trying to, buy coins for another purpose one day, in other words, to sell, as a hedge against, whatever, inflation or whatever. Now, stackers don't give a rat's ass about a grade. Really, they don't. If you're just stacking to stack, constitutional, like this, then all you're doing is putting them in a stack. Now, you might have VAMs or whatever. They don't care. They just want the silver for as cheap as they can get it to put it away, right? That's it. And then you have the stackers who are a little anal retentive. You know, they say, okay, I want to be able to stack a bunch of stuff, but I'd rather have something that looks halfway decent in case somebody says, hey, do you have, 1968, 40% Kennedy half? Looks halfway decent. Now, instead of paying, a lower amount, they might pay $1 or $2 more because in their mind, they have two options. They can either sell it for whatever, melt is plus whatever the going rate, or they can sell it to a collector that's actually wanting to collect that, that year, and that, that's that's another whole realm. And then you go to the guys who are trying to make sets. And some of them they don't care about the grade; they're just trying to put together a set. And then you got the guys who are trying to put together the sets for a specific grade. And then you got the guys who are trying to collect all. I mean, it's just all over the place. It gets freaking nuts. You know? When you say a 1955 double die, or obverse or reverse, um, Did you grade your 400th anniversary Mayflower? No, I didn't. I just put it in a box and put it in my thing. I haven't. I actually have. I have two submissions out to ENAC right now, so you know I'll wait on my Morgans to get back. Because to be honest with you, MDM, I have a lot of Eagles and stuff, but I don't really. If I see a need for that a specific coin being graded, um, then I do it. But otherwise, I don't waste my money um, that way. I I try to concentrate on my Morgans. You know, but that's just me, right or wrong or indifferent. You know, that's just the way that I do things. My Morgans come first. My Morgans and my pennies, or something really rare. Like I'll show you something that I did send off. I was showing people last night. Take a look at this. Shit, a little light on the subject for it. Now, that's a proof decam Carson City 200th anniversary. That's rare. Okay. The great thing about it is it's got that high relief to it. So when you tilt it, it looks like that dish and those implements are sticking out at you. Got that 3D effect. Some people say, "Oh well, what's that?" Well, it's got a Carson City mint mark, and it was punched on #1 press. That's why I got it. So, well, stuff like this that I know is cool and rare, you may send in enough. You know. So, what I do and what I send off and what I sell. Just remember something. If you know something super rare and it's going to be hard to come across it again, you better really think long and hard before you sell it. And you better have a specific need to sell it. If you're just selling it to get some money to go out partying, go have a few beers or, wine and dine some woman, something like that, you might want to think about that. Because that one coin, once you get rid of it, it might take you a lifetime to get that coin back. So you gotta really be careful. I've done it. Trust me, I've done it, and I regret it.